Over recent years, Judy and I have worked closely with Rob Fickling from Moroka 30 on the Beyond the Divide TV series. Rob, with the assistance of his great young cameraman and editor Greg Hogan, have led the way with this great Aussie hunting series. We applaud Rob for his stance on sustainable use of wildlife and hunter ethics. We're very proud to bring these few episodes to you from Wild Country. If you enjoy them as much as we do, go online and buy the whole series.
And the wind calls my name, it stirs deep inside. Thoughts of where my spirit feels alive, and where the mind goes, the hunter will follow to go beyond that line.
Our first morning in the central Queensland Ranges. It's late October, and this is the starting point for our next hunt that over the next 2 episodes will take us through the cattle country west of here, right up through Charters Towers, eventually arriving back out on the coast at Townsville, roughly 700k north of our starting point. If there's one animal that every Aussie hunter loves chasing, it's pigs, and I'm no different. I've hunted them since I was a kid, and I'll never grow tired of it. Now, while this region is classic pig country, it also holds a much bigger and badder calibre of feral. It's going to be hot, but so is the action, as we take on the notoriously nasty Queensland scrub bull. Clark, great to be back up here, mate. We've been talking about this hunt, as usual, for a while, and you've been telling me about this bull country of yours, and it's quite different to what you would think as, you know, maybe some of the open flat kind of plains country.
Certainly.
We're right up here in the ranges.
Yeah, that's what's different about these scrub bulls up here. They originated from, you know, the early Brahman, which was like the Zebu cattle, 80, nearly 100 years ago when they first brought them in. They're right up here in the high ranges. They live on the edges of these cliffs, and yeah, totally different.
One thing that hit me straight away, you said it was dry. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's as dry as I've seen it.
Yeah, this is dry. What we'll be trying to do is get back to where the little isolated pockets of water are, and yeah, we've just got to cover some country.
We've got a new part of the team, this machine, thanks to Arctic Cat Australia. We're going to rack up some miles in this. It's going to be a great tool in these conditions.
Yeah, I think this will get us back and make that difference on this trip.
Well, I'm keen to get a look around, so let's get into it. Where you want to head to first, mate?
I reckon we go down here, there's a bit of a soaky gully and a little bit of a green patch. I reckon there's been a couple of bulls hanging on the side of the cliff. They might be up on that top now. This'll do about here, mate, I reckon.
Yep. Start having a walk.
Yeah. Where I reckon this bull will be is on the top of this rise over here and down along the creek. So let's get over there and see what we can find.
The rifle I'd chosen for this hunt was a Seiko Grizzly 9.3 by 66, a calibre primarily designed to handle big game. My ammunition would be 220 grain Seiko hammerheads.
First impressions of this country for me is it's great 'cause it's nice and open. You know, obviously being cattle country, it's been grazed out a fair bit, which keeps that grass down and you can look through, so it's good glassing country. Coming through this rolling stuff and down into a little creek like this, this bit of cover and a bit of water is a classic place we might be able to bust a pig out. Middle of the day, there's a bit of old sign here.
was soon clear the pigs had moved on long ago, but further down we found an important place to start looking for sign.
This is a beautiful little creek, mate.
Yeah.
Obviously water in these conditions is going to be crucial and a hot spot. We're going to revolve a lot of our hunting around places like this, yeah?
Yeah, that's the one of the features of all this northern country here. Water dictates life, and you'll see here we've got the pigs have been in here,
Yeah.
bull tracks here, wallabies, everything comes down here. It's amazing there's still a bit of water left here. You see where the watermark normally is. Now this is usually a really good creek.
The country we're hunting here is a working cattle property.
Yep.
Now, let's just explain the dynamic here with what's going on between the domestic cattle and these wild bulls that obviously cause a big problem for the landowner here.
Yeah, definitely. It's a situation of geography dictating, how you can run your cattle in this country. You've got the steep mountain ranges. This is where the Great Divide runs right down to the sea. So you've got steep sides and like this plateau country up top that the landowners use for their domestic cattle. So over the last 100 years, there's been cattle that just can't be mustered. They've broken away and formed their own species, subspecies. And they're usually made up of the early zebu, lines of cattle, Brahman, shorthorn cattle, there's Angus, everything's gone into them. So you can have any colour, any shape, big horns, curly horns, you name it. But they do cause a lot of trouble for the landowners because they come in here, they compete with the stud bulls.
Yep.
And they change the whole colour of a herd and the whole quality of a herd.
To try and track down these bulls, we're going to be hunting areas where the cattle are hanging out, the domestic
Yep.
cattle are hanging out, and hoping that those bulls are hanging off them.
Yeah, usually they will be, if there's a scrub bull around, he's usually within half a kilometre or so of where there's cattle coming in to drink. Oftentimes they'll share the same water holes, but sometimes a bull will have just a little soak on the side of a hill, on a steep side, and that'll be his, and he'll defend that territory very stringently. Yeah.
So we just got to try and find them before we push them out into that real wild country off
That's
the
it.
sides, yeah.
They smell you here, these bulls are very much like a deer. If they smell you, they'll just drop into one of those scrubs and then it gets real interesting.
As pretty as this country is, it's pretty heartbreaking to see stuff like this. You've got hundreds of young cane toads living in this sand, jumping in the creek here. Check this out. I was just picked up on a mob of cattle up here, which is nothing too exciting, but the fact that there might be one of these bulls hanging around here is, so we've got to make sure we don't spook the cattle, get the wind right, go up there, see if one of these big guys might be hanging off the back. Doesn't seem to be anything with this mob. They're just getting onto us, so we're going to back out, sneak out of here. We don't want to put them up. This is a prime area. That, particularly with the drop off into the scrubby country, there might just be a bull hanging around here, so we'll back away, come back later.
It'd just be wrong to find one on the first hunt, wouldn't it?
It would.
The morning hunt had proved very quiet, so we made a move across the plateau to check out some heavier timbered country where Clark had had success before.
And as far as we'll go, fellas. Walk from here.
Pretty comfy and easy going in that, but time to do some real stalking. I just love hunting this time of the day, in the afternoon, as it cools off. Sure, the mornings are great, but
One thing about this warm weather country is in the mornings you're always chasing the animals. They're going to bed down as the heat of the day approaches. Animals are just like us, middle of the day, don't move around much, but as the afternoon cools, the longer it goes on, the better chance you've got the animals are coming out more and more. As it gets to that last light, that's the red hot time.
After finding some well-used game trails and following them, things finally started looking up.
We had to bump into something sooner or later, considering that sign. And we have, but it's another little mob of the domestic cattle up here. Again, for domestic cattle, they're very wild, they're very spread out, so we have to be careful. But feeding on the edge of a little burn area here, it's not surprising that they're up there. But we do have to be careful that a big bull might be just hanging back with them. This is prime country.
Despite looking hard in the thick stuff, all we could find were scattered mobs of domestics.
In this country, often the only way that a landowner can get the cattle out of here is by using choppers and mustering them into wings like this one here. Well, they've used a bulldozer and they've pushed the timber up into 2 wings. They put in a portable set of yards and they muster cattle in with the choppers. When prices are high, you'll see landowners will be trying really hard to get these cattle in. But oftentimes those big scrub bulls, big clean skin bulls, they're just too much trouble. They get them in and they often kill other cattle as they're trying to muster them up. So the best way to get them out of this country is often with a rifle.
Big country. After the Plateau action yesterday, we were out here in the thicker stuff, a bit steeper.
Yeah, this is the sort of one edge of the block where it drops off on the inland side. And we go from as far as you can see there, the distant hill, right around that big range and over the other side of it and way down literally as far as you can see.
Yeah, it's huge country. So we're going to make our way down here today.
Yeah,
A bit of a glass.
Go down here, try and get our wind right, and then we'll drop down into those big gorges there.
We spent the morning glassing and spotting, but only picked up on one mob, and again, they were domestics. The elusive scrub bull was definitely living up to his name. After covering a huge amount of ground with the glass, we decided to leave the vehicle and head for the bush. We picked up on a game trail that would hopefully lead us down to water that might be holding a rogue bull. The trail showed fresh traffic, and up ahead, movement was spotted.
Coming on a mob of cattle bedded down here in the bottom of the gully, and Greg, cameraman, just made a great pickup. Spotted some horn in amongst the scrub down there on an animal, but it's turned out to be a clean-skinned cow. So that's what we call a wild cow, clean skin being unbranded. Close, but not a bull.
As the day warmed up, we started on a huge walk, making our way slowly along the ridge, down the spur, and then into the floor of a gully that eventually led us to the start of a spectacular rocky gorge.
Having never seen this country in the wet, it'd be hard to imagine what it'd be like being in this creek in full flood. You know, now it's just nothing. The river's dried up to little ponds and saw the fish just holding back in tight little holes. But imagine what it'd be like with a torrent of water down here and water up over my head. Too fierce.
There's fresh dingo tracks on that cattle pad and dingo scat there. So just in this patch of scrub we could have a little family. We might give them a call, see what happens, eh?
Yeah.
Usually if they're here, they'll give you an answer straight back if they're close. I did that one day and I had 12 dingoes come down a gully like that, straight at us, just like that.
It's dry, but there's still plenty of life here. That's a monster fish, what do you reckon?
Yeah, big sooty grunter, about, 2.5 pound. Beautiful eating. You catch them with little soft plastics and fly.
Hey, the turtles just popped up over here. Beautiful bit of country.
Yeah. Over 20 years of hunting this block through here, and I've never actually walked through this corner of the gorge. And we find this just magnificent.
The temperature had now soared to nearly 40 degrees, so when we found a deep pool further on up the gorge, we had no hesitation in jumping in to cool off and recharge for the long walk up to the vehicle. Back at camp, thanks to Judy, we were greeted with the amazing smell of a camp oven lamb roast that made for a feast. It had been a couple of long, hot, tough days and we still hadn't laid eyes on a bull, but tomorrow was another day.
The end of that first night when we were coming back from a big day down here, just in the headlights of the vehicle, we saw a big scrub bull cross the road. So we've come back down to hunt this area. It was a bit quiet yesterday, so with any luck we can try and pick him up, as he was a good one. Pretty warm this morning. It's probably the warmest morning we've had. I'm making it a bit hot and sticky. We've covered a lot of ground, hasn't turned up anything, but one good thing is we've found out where they aren't. Important thing about hunting, always got to find out where they're not, and then you can find out where they are. One of the advantages with hunting with someone like Clark up here, who knows this country so well, and the experience says that hear that crow behind me, something simple in all this needle in a haystack country is that the crows are often hanging on the cattle. So we've been struggling to find any sort of sign this morning. He's picked up on some crows, so we're going to head that way, see if there's anything there. It's been right so far. Clark's theory with the crows has turned out spot on again. We just picked up some cattle. About an hour of working out if hopefully one of these big guys hanging with them.
We cautiously snuck in on the wily bunch of cattle that were feeding along the edges of the creek. With anticipation, we began thoroughly glassing the scrub, searching for a troublemaker. But again, this time, unfortunately, there was no bad boy hanging around. Disappointed, we continued on, but then finally, persistence paid off.
Clark's just picked up a big bull out of nowhere. Big brown thing. On his own.
The bull was feeding on the edge of a grassy clearing, just on 150 metres away. Concerning me was the thick lantana scrub beside him that he could quickly disappear into if he smelled us or caught sight of us. The trees in between frustratingly blocked a clear shot, so we had to risk it and try and get closer. As always, I wanted to be 100% sure of my shot placement, as particularly with scrub bulls, they can be extremely dangerous if wounded, and he could charge us if my first shot didn't hit home. As we got within range at 80 metres, I was poised to fire, but agonisingly he grazed forward and a tree blocked the perfect shot. We made a bold move to advance to the next tree, and as he moved ever closer to cover, I took my only chance. The scrubber turned to challenge us and I prepared for a charge, but the shot was good. He was faithfully hit and dead on his feet. As you should with any large dangerous game, to be safe and humane, I followed up until he was down.
He's down. He's down. And that's a big bull. safety first with these big guys. We've got to be ready to go.
Yeah, just steady, mate. He's good.
Yeah, he's done. All right.
Down.
Look at the cape on him. Look at the bronze on him. What a beast.
Well done, Blake.
Well done to you. Look at the size of this thing. What a behemoth. Cannot even move that. The size of the head on the thing.
He's got good bases. Good big ball. 7, 8 year old ball.
That's bigger than a buff.
That's what we've been looking for.
Yeah,
all those miles around hills.
And we've been looking. We've been looking.
But see what he was doing? He was just hanging off the side of those heifers.
Yeah.
He was checking them. And not ready to be with them. They're not cycling yet. And they're just hanging in the scrub off to one side.
Let's prop him up and have a good look at him. Bull down, mate. Fantastic. I'm wrapped. I've been looking forward to this hunt for a long time. It's been harder than I thought.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, like most Aussies, I reckon you'd expect to be hunting bulls out on flat plains country out the back of Queensland or up in the Territory, and this has been a whole new experience.
Yeah, it blows people out when they see the country that these things live in. They're like a super athlete when it comes to they just live on the sides of hills.
Now this bull is an absolute machine, the size of it. He's got the Brahman hump. Like, I don't know much about cattle, but he's certainly not a pure white Brahman like we're seeing. He's a mix of everything, as you'd expect in a scrubber. But where's all this come from?
Yeah, a long history, mate. It's when they first brought cattle into this country, they had like Pole Shorthorn and Hereford cattle, and they were not really suited. So they went out to try and find species that would be more suitable to Queensland conditions. So they started bringing in the first Brahmins. The first ones that they brought into this country said, fantastic, let's just hit the scrub.
Yeah. And we're dealing here with animals that are generations old and living here.
Yeah, 70, 80 years since the first cattle sort of went wild into these hills. So they've had black pole, they've had Brahman, they've had everything mix up. So this is like a multiracial, multicultural bull. He's got everything in him. Yeah.
Now there's some serious headgear on here, so I can see why the landowners and the cattle do not want these anywhere near their yards or the domestic. So go through what a problem it is with the breeding and the horns and their temperament and everything it does.
Well, you just see the marks on this thing here. He's got a hole in his side over there that's literally caused something's punched him. He's been fighting real hard. And that's what they do. They'll come out of the thick country, and the landowner will have beautiful like stud cows, and this thing comes in and takes over. So instead of having that top class calf hit the ground next year, they're all multicoloured calves.
And his price goes.
Price is straight down.
3 shots with the Seiko Grizzly in 9.3, and as you can see, big animals soaked him up. We've got 3 right in the shoulder.
First one was perfect, good hit. Yeah.
It slowed him down. He was only a few metres away from running into all that lantana and junk. He actually turned and stared straight back at us. I think we all took a bit of a gulp then, but a couple more to put him down. Pretty clean kill at the end of the day. So we're going to start to work on him. He's got a magnificent cape, everything you want in a trophy. Rip the back straps out. They're going to be a big feast.
Yeah. You'll see the horn's a lot bigger. That's still a really good. He's got about 16 inches either side on the curl. I think the biggest we pulled out of here was 54 inches. Saw him coming through the timber. He was like a B-52 bomber. Unreal.
That's scary.
Yeah.
All right.
Straight down the cow.
Thanks again.
My pleasure, mate. Good hunt.
Next week, our most action-packed episode ever as we take on the feral pigs of Western Queensland.
This is our world. This is our wild country.